I think we actually were mentioning that we met you like almost 10 years ago at
10 years.
tournament. Yeah.
Right. Whoa. Our origin stories, man.
I used to compete. I don't compete anymore.
Well, you're here competing now.
I used to love competing. Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, this is amazing. Like sorry, I don't want to get like too off track, but it's just been a big rush of like, oh my god, I miss this feeling. It's amazing. Right. Like just like the scouting, like we did scouting, the practice, like learning something from scratch, all of this. It just like, it gets my blood pumping. I'm just like so excited. And not like in a vicious way, no pun intended. I'm just happy. I don't know. It reminds me of family, community family.
Aw.
That's all.
Aw. That's really nice.
Cute.
Oh.
Sorry. So cute.
Oh my god.
No, you're cute. No, oh my god. Oh,
Everyone here is
Don't
cute.
even get this started.
Everyone here is cute.
Next question.
I don't know about Grandmaster, but everyone here is cute.
And that's going to be the real Graham Shadys. That's a team. Of course, it's going to be Mori Calliope and iyashiK. And the deck name is Chris. Gonna give it to you. Good old Chris Pumpkinhead, or Chris beyond the patch. And I think we actually have an expert here on Shadowcraft, in this deck in particular, who hasn't been talking for a little bit, but that's Noir. So why don't you explain this deck to us?
Yeah, so Last Word Shadow, this is a really popular, really strong deck right now. It's basically playing a bunch of Last Words cards, you stack them up, and you activate a bunch of powerful effects like Wicked Rebirth and Chris. And then you also have the Gremory package, where once you draw a lot of cards and generate a lot of shadows, your late game combos become incredibly powerful. And Callie mentioned this herself, this class and this deck in particular is all about that hidden potential, and I would not have described it in a better way. Gremory is all about getting to that potential and just destroying any opponent once you hit that power spike.
So right now, we are going to look at the Feeling Cute, Might Delete You Heart team, aka Faye, Mata, and Den. And the deck name is going to be Ride Outdated, Artifact Overrated, which might be a direct hit at Gigauk and playing Artifact today. But why don't you tell us, actually Zones, let's move over to Zones this time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this deck?
Right, so Roost is like specifically Resplendent Phoenix is actually the comeback of Roost. Phoenix Roost is like this really old school card that like when you played it, it made everything cost 1/2. And so, you know, you can see that this deck has like 14 cards that cost 8 or more. You normally you'd be like, how do I play more than one of these a turn? Well, it's because of the Phoenix Roost that you put into play. So, but the twist on this is that Resplendent Phoenix actually puts a Phoenix Roost directly into play, which means only cards that you draw after this Roost is in play, and by you I mean both players actually, get that cost reduction. So there's actually a bit of sequencing to this. First you want to ramp up, right, part of the dragon identity, ramp up your play points so you can do more in one turn, and then you want to draw as many cards as you can while Phoenix Roost is in play. So you're just playing incredibly unfair games of like multiple cards that cost way too much while your opponent's like, how do I deal with this? So it's really sweet to see this deck in action.
Pretty much the boys that are going to be casting this, and look forward to seeing the insight of how these individuals play.
Let the duel begin.
Segments where we get to actually listen in to some of these players and listen to the thought process. But without further ado, here comes game number one.
We get it in the mulligan, right?
Oh yeah, here we go. And I'm going to be a little bit of the voice of the newer player, I think, for right now, since I know a lot of you are here to cheer on your favorite player, and maybe aren't quite as familiar. So I'll be asking questions like, how does? Okay. Well, what are you guys reacting to off the bat?
Let's go. Okay.
That mulligan is insane.
For Callie.
That's pretty good, actually.
Another
oh my goodness.
Another really good hand. 2 ramps in hand versus pretty much all the card draw and shadow generation you could ask for Callie and iyashiK.
This is good. This is good.
This is turning out to be a really insane game.
Oh,
already drawing Resplendent Yara over there in the hand for Faye and Den. Gonna ramp into that very nicely. Just missing a little bit of card draw.
Double check.
Callie with the... I mean, playing herself there. The first card that she plays on stream, of course.
It's absolutely perfect. There's no other way it could be, right? Like I was saying, you know, her draws weren't so great last night, so maybe she got rid of all of her bad luck, right? Just spent it all out. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Spend all your bad luck, and then suddenly you get good hands.
I mean, you know, luck is a finite resource. It's like energy. You know, you can't destroy it or create it. So here comes where we got a little bit of a choice here. We got Sarcophagus Wraith versus Otherworld Gatekeeper. I mean, I'm pretty sure
Welcome
I would
back
just
to
play
the land of the
Sight.
living.
Check.
but
Frills.
we are gonna
Double
see
check.
the iyashiK, the Otherworld Gatekeeper. It's not bad for tempo though. You can save the Sark for after the Roost to draw cards afterwards. I guess is the main reason. So not bad application there.
Great to meet
Yeah,
you.
and also when you already have like one Bubbly Reaper out of your deck, sometimes you want to like minimize the potential of pulling too many out of your deck before you play the Gatekeeper. Little awkward there usually, but you know at the same time this is
We'll eat the
I don't know if
fight,
this is the
Jerry.
easiest turn for Faye and Den here. I mean,
I will
the
now
ramp
be
is probably
ending
like
my
as I say
turn.
that they're going to do it. There are a couple of. Usually, you're not too worried about getting blitzed out by aggression in this matchup from the Roost side, so they're going to take their time.
All right, so again, you know, we want to hear a lot about how these players and these coaches are
aggressive right
interacting.
now,
So
it's scary.
why don't we go to a listen in here
okay, though.
and listen to how Callie and iyashiK are kind of communicating.
They open pretty aggressively.
Okay. Huh. Wait, that's fine. They're at 20. So they. Oh my god, we have double Phoenix. Okay, so we do George Evo, right? And then.
Vile dragon, repent your wicked deeds.
Hello. Hello.
Kiss him through. Everyone needs an afterlife plan.
Okay, do we hold or play? I think we hold. Yeah. Also, I didn't.
Alrighty, so it looks like. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
One is me and one is
Go
Kiana.
ahead. Sorry. We kind of jumped in. Some eager. Right. So the George.
Callie and iyashiK was pretty good. The other one on 3 because you can play the Stark on 4 anyway. Pretty good there as well.
Right, so next turn, we
Faye and
give our
Den.
Phoenix.
Gonna be looking for
And
Roost
we
plus
have enough
Wings of
play
Tomorrow to
wins.
draw 2 cards immediately next turn.
I'm doing you a favor by paying our bonus
And I
What was
think
that?
the Chris glowing here means that there's already 5 last words activated for Callie and iyashiK. They're gonna slow down a little. I think look for some
No,
cards to
it's not
play.
even.
Drawing the Nightmare Devourer after spending a play point, so that's not gonna be an option this turn. Wonder if they're just gonna
This here's the
play
shady part of town.
play a 5 last word Chris here.
I'll just
Seems to
edit it
be,
later.
yeah, and
Prepare
just to contest
yourself.
the board. Not the strongest play for this turn. We'd like to generate a couple more shadows if possible, but
Farewell, dragon.
putting some threat in the way of the dragon player is definitely gonna be an attempt at slowing them down too.
Phoenix Wings it is.
Yeah, so
The
Chris, obviously the
resplendent
leader
Phoenix
effect is really
graces
strong.
you
Once
with
get to 10
her
shadows,
presence.
It's gonna buff everything that has
Look Let
even
the land
if you
be
don't have it,
graced by
the most
beauty.
important thing actually
Should I
is that
heal
you'll
and
draw a
sacrifice
bunch of
first?
cards and you'll get the rest of your deck active. It is actually a Grumry deck at its core, this last
Agreed.
word Shadow.
Okay.
So throwing out the
Remove
Chris
things
here
now.
just for a little bit of tempo because it's a little
Is there anything
awkward
she
to
can
actually
play?
use Wicked Rebirth right now.
Teenage
Callie and
Mutant
iyashiK gonna
Mhm.
wait on that a little bit as we see here the Grand Resolve
Right,
from
okay.
Faye. And then, as we mentioned earlier,
Resolve!
you draw 2 cards right
I'll
away.
open the way.
They're gonna
I
get
will
rid of
follow
the
behind,
cards
even
from the
in
Phoenix
death.
that they
Let's
just evolved.
go! Okay,
And here
we're
it
going to
comes.
use,
Hopefully they see some Ganagoza's
Oh.
play. That's not too bad.
Oh.
They have taken a good amount of damage this game, so the 3-cost world is
And
gonna
let's end the
be
turn.
pretty helpful there, and we'll draw more cards as well.
Yeah, and the cost reduced Dragon Devouring Drag can actually be really tough to deal with
this will be a
for the
good-
Shadow side. Usually, you know, you pitch like the first one that you start fusing into because it costs 10, but with this one cost reduced, you know, if you try to make a board of a lot of last words and they get banished, more Callie and iyashiK aren't at that 10 threshold yet, which means, you know, getting a wide board banish is going to hurt them. And coming with that, the world, when you're already at 13, suddenly that early aggression doesn't look so strong. So, all right, another.
I'm ready.
We're gonna enhance the sarcophagus right here from Callie and iyashiK. Suicide in the evolved sarcophagus wraith, which immediately draws 2 cards. Ooh,
It's a double impulse.
that's
I mean, Okay,
That's
in
scary.
this matchup in particular, that is really crazy. So Phoenix Roost, of course, it affects both players, and this is, I guess, the downside of Roost sometimes when your opponent draws cards. When they hit these insanely powerful cards, they have the 2-cost Necro Impulse. Normally it costs 4, but now it's going to be so much easier for Callie to combo these together and deal a ton of storm damage. There's not that much that can be done about, really cheap Necro Impulses. But Lucifer.
Well, let's
The
actually
resplendent Phoenix graces you with her presence.
iyashiK, let's take a listen this time to Faye and Dan.
But we're evoing and then... Sorry, my VO's so loud I couldn't hear you. But we're evoing and then...
Yes.
Let the land be graced by beauty.
We play Zal!
I shall give birth to a new world. I'll live again.
And then we feel... well, we want to sacrifice, right? And then we feel in a kill off. Well, we want to sacrifice, right? So that she doesn't have any...
I'm so beautiful.
We can trade the 4-1 into the 2-2 so it dies.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you!
And then we can play Pumpkin Dragon.
And we get more cards.
Looks
at
good.
Double. Or yeah. And then we get more cards. Very cheap. Double. Very cheap cards.
1-4.
Let's go. Very cheap. Very cheap cards. Let's go.
We can just chill.
Let's feed another thing or no?
We can. Yeah, we can
have that
ramp.
Big Gonda.
Yeah, we can ramp and eat the Yamagosa. Yeah, seems good.
You're
Seems good.
listening. Den taught me all of this. All right. If you're listening, Den taught me all of this. It feels really good though.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just confirming at this point.
I was not here at
But yeah,
all. It feels really good though. Like I was not here at all
it with the coaching.
last week. So thank you. Like win or lose, you really crushed it with the coaching part.
All right. Well, I mean, cheap cards is right. I think in a few different ways, but oh my gosh, that's the third. That's the third Echo Impulse. They're getting ready for an all-out attack here.
That's one way to put it. I was a little bit surprised, honestly. The double Roost is, respectable for sure. It is really risky though, because sometimes things like this happen. Den and Faye still have a lot of cards to draw to actually be, in a position where they can find lethal. They have 1 3-cost Gonda already. They need to find maybe 1 more, and that would actually be enough. They do have the Council in hand. That's going to allow them to draw a whole bunch of cards because they are obviously an overflow. And in total, that would be enough if they can,
because they're over anyway.
double Gonda and Georgius.
George first?
Yeah, and one thing Faye pointed out at the end of their previous turn, right? She made sure to get that second fusion into the Dragon Devouring Dread, so they could choose to do something like use that Lucifer and to try to draw more cards and get in some, maybe find a second copy of Gonda Goza here or a Bahamut for some damage. Like, they could just find lethal this turn from this hand. Let's see how they go about it.
Oh, no.
We're drawing last like a real dragon main. This is what I like to see. And that's not more damage. That is a lot of healing, a lot more card draw. I'm not sure if that's quite what we're looking for right now. We're really trying to win the game sooner rather than later, because even though Roost has some insanely powerful cards, you cannot sleep on this last word Shadow under the effect of double Roost. This is going to be really, really scary really soon. And in fact, they could actually just be in danger of dying.
Behold the fists of immortal supremacy!
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Thunder and fist!
But I was gonna say if that 2/2 that stayed up, that would have been
adorable to the end.
So there's at least a pretty big board, right? A little bit of defense, but there's no chance, right, to find lethal. So why don't we take a listen in one more time?
I've seen them.
I can't remember what their name was, but let's listen to the first teams of Callie and iyashiK.
Okay.
Ooh, wow, that's an invincible monster trio. Okay, so the way I would start, let's. Okay.
2 wings and a pumpkin dragon.
Let's start with Celeste.
Okay. At 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can gain all of that back with Invincible Monster Trio.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Tie him up.
Curse him.
Rain him. Tie him up.
Curse him.
Rain him.
Okay, now give the retracing to one of the first trio.
Okay.
And then to you can give it to Gregory.
Okay. Gotcha.
She has so many points left still.
Okay, and then attack the trio into
Farewell.
the 77 board.
Gotcha.
Dragon.
Okay. And then
Gandagoza?
give me 1 second. Okay, now play Nightmare Devourer. And then attack both into the Goza.
Come here.
Sorry, that was a little bit tight on time there.
Oh, that'll be what was that?
Ooh,
Oh,
that was scary. That was super super tight on time. As they say, can't turn back time. So
Mhm.
you got to get in all your hits when you can. But yeah, I mean, so why don't you explain a little bit like how you can essentially get even more play points from a this Gremory-ish Shadow deck, and on top of Heavy.
Yeah, so invocation means like if you hit a condition, it'll summon itself from your deck. If you have more shadows than cards in your deck, so you want to draw a lot of cards and generate a lot of shadows, Gremory comes out, gives you the leader effect where every time you use Necromancy, which is an effect that consumes your shadows, you gain back play points equal to that Necromancy cost. And we saw Callie and iyashiK, they dropped down to 2 play points, but they had a 2 play point trio, which has Necromancy 15. So playing that bounces them back by 15 play points, so they go back to 8. And so they were able to that turn was pretty tough. They were really close to lethal.
There is no escape from the apocalypse to come.
The Eagle Point is 21 damage, but the Gremory Invoke does stop that a little bit. If you had, or if they had Wicked Rebirth to get rid of the Gremory and then trade off those followers instead, that actually would have done it. But Lucifer coming into play from Faye and Dead, healing up as well here. Another Gremory Invoke. So again, it doesn't seem like they have lethal this turn.
Okay.
Yeah, they're definitely getting down to that point where, you know, as they've got some more aggressive options in their deck, and you can see so many of them in the hand, right? Like a little bit earlier game stuff or more value stuff, and trying to push through I mean, tell me if I'm wrong on this, but it seems like trying to push through a fully set up double roost deck is quite a task.
Does this outfit make me look too moaning?
There's just so much healing.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of
I'm
there's so
coming
much,
for
power in the deck,
you.
a lot of direct damage. Okay, they are going in with the Necro Impulse. I think this is just to buff the shadows back up again, and I assume this is going to be a Bone Maven to clear out this entire board. They do need to trade off one more Ghost to make sure that the actual Bone Maven, a strong follower, really strong because of Gremory, because you can play out other cards first, and then once you've regenerated your play points with Bone Maven, you have at least 30 shadows. He's going to deal 6 damage to every enemy, and as you see, it's going to clear the entire board, push a good amount of damage, and
I'll open the way. You follow behind.
Callie, 11 HP. Yeah, but there's no damage for Faye. They have Call.
I believe they have one Georgius and one Gandagoza left in their deck, right? So if they can find both of those, that would be enough, but their own hand is working against them.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed, and they're at full 9 cards in hand, so they would mill a card if they were to play Call right now.
Thanks for the Evo.
Yeah. I'm inclined to... so the Draconic Call is guaranteed to find Gandagoza, I believe. If you use the Lucifer, you can pull that, but I don't think it's Georgius that comes along with it, so that may not be good enough, and it looks like they're going to they're going to use Jita's Determination to empty some space in their hand and get an Evo point back. And they're going to play it slow.
Down, heal back up. This healing is now going to be a lot more relevant now that they've seen one Necro Impulse is already down. They know there are only 2 remaining. Back up to 20 HP already for Faye. these Necro Impulses are not looking so hot anymore. With only 2 in hand, that's only 14 or 16 damage with an Evil Point. So they're not quite looking at lethal anymore, and in fact now, they're further than they were before.
Are there any cards that you think the real Gram Shadies, I remember this time, should be like looking for? Like, is there anything we can find out of their deck that would be an out?
Well, they would want to find more cards on that they can like use right away. So you know, Wicked Rebirth would be really, really good. Of course, this still kind of works. It just means that you'd have to use Echo Impulse.
You see, I'm only getting stronger.
Time to finish
fine,
this.
But against Roost, like,
Adorably,
you
of course.
really need to have all of your damage. It's all about that combo. Because as you've seen, if you deal a little bit of damage at a time, they don't care. If they're not dead, they're gonna heal that all the way back. And it's looking really rough right now for Callie. They did draw another.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you.
You know, right before they used their last Eva point there, I was going to say the series actually adds a dimension of extra combo potential to this version of the Shadow deck. But now that they no longer have that Eva point, we're not going to see the series spell token, Darkest Desire. So that's another avenue that they could have.
Yeah, when you're playing against Roost, sometimes you're like, wow, I can do things with
Ladies
this deck that
and gentlemen,
I normally just couldn't. This is so fun. But then you realize you're playing against Roost, and they're throwing nasty dragons at you, and you're like, oh wait, is this fun?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And you know what? Why don't we see if they're having fun? Let's go in again. Let's listen to Faye and Den.
Ooh, Gonda baby. Ooh, Gonda baby.
Okay, there's Gonda.
Gonda Tiamat, or
Looks like Tiamat, Lucifer, Evo.
that doesn't do it. That doesn't do it.
There is no escape from the apocalypse to come.
Hello, Lucifer Evo.
The gods will know fear.
Ladies and gentle ghosts, follow me.
You disappoint me.
We trade.
You just
Yeah.
trade into it.
I love this job.
All right.
Of course I do.
We trade. So next turn should be.
I love this job.
All right.
Of course I do.
So next turn should be lethal. Okay.
In an ideal world, yeah.
Ideally. Okay. End of turn. Yeah. There's nothing else we can do. Oh, this is a good game though. It's
Deal world, but I mean, they're in such a spot where, like, even if they don't find lethal next turn, the question is, can they be lethal back possibly, right? Like, I mean, they are down to only 7 cards left in the deck, but I'm sure they'll be able to find lethal at some point during that, right?
You have to win quick.
Yeah, with Bahamut and Gonda goes into that is a very important combo. Once you trade with Gonda, it's going to allow Bahamut to do more damage because it does damage to the board first. So if there's less health on board, it means more damage to
Ladies and gentle ghosts, follow me.
is going to come back down again. Cycle Bomb to draw more cards. I believe there is still a... Okay, yeah, there's a series in the deck, but there's no...
Ladies and gentle ghosts, follow me.
On a nice
I love this job.
55 shadows
I do.
right now. This is kind of just what happens with this deck. And yeah, that's what I was going to mention. The trio, there is still that trio left in the deck.
Tie 'em up!
Curse 'em.
Rain 'em! Tie 'em up!
Curse 'em.
Rain 'em!
It's gonna have
This
to
shouldn't
make the
fit.
difference. They have
Love
Tyrants, so they can
blooms
clear
forever.
everything. But, you know, speaking of almost decking out, they're running out of cards as well. Series comes down. Well, now they actually cannot play the Tyrant unless they trade something off. I don't know if they
will be back.
to stick around for them to have much of a chance, I would think. Alright, they have internet, my bad.
Yeah. But there's a good point about the Tyrant though. Having a bigger board than the series in terms of health, and okay, we're gonna. In fact, Faye and Den versus the
Behold
Georges.
the
That is
fists of immortal
12 damage right there.
super-severing fist!
You just have to play those 2 cards. I think
You're wide
it looks
open.
like
Vile dragon,
Yeah.
repent
I
your
see
wicked
it.
deed, ice swordsman!
Easy peasy. It's just that simple.
We won!
Yeah.
GG though, GG.
Nice swordsmanship.
We won!
That's
GG
number
though,
1.
GG.
Oh,
Yep.
went for the handshake,
Now I
went for
don't
the
get your
This
digital
is where the real
handshake.
fun begins.
Well, every other turn. Now I don't get your help. Okay.
Ah,
Well, every other turn. Okay.
He's
I didn't realize that she also has the game inside her custom-made like sound booth.
Yeah.
I thought she would like move over to
Yeah,
like a desk or something, but
too.
no, she stayed in her booth. She has like the iPad going probably. That's pretty funny. I didn't think that was gonna happen.
And that means she can pop off as loud as she wants, right? Like she can, and she kind of has been, honestly. Yeah. She's getting excited about the game, but I love seeing the first matches in Buddy System because you really get a chance to see how all of these players and coaches like communicate, right? We've seen teams where like some coaches will talk a really long time until the end of the turn, just never stop talking about what to do. We'll see times where players look really confident. I actually kind of feel that's a little bit how Faye was, right? Like she was kind of calling out what she was supposed to be doing beforehand and like starting to understand the reasons, which I mean, hey, it led to a pretty strong win there.
Yeah, absolutely. It did seem like Faye had a very good grasp of the deck, and Den, as they even mentioned, Den was basically just like confirming, the play that Faye wanted to make already. So they do seem to have a very good grasp of